Now the database we're going to download is a fairly standard one called AdventureWorks. So if you open up Google and you search for AdventureWorks SQL Server, and the reason for that is it's available for Microsoft Access and other things. And we can see here the Microsoft SQL Server product samples. So you can see the current URL is codeplex.com. So if we click on this and click on download the databases. Now the one we want is this first one. You can see that there is a light version, LT for light. You can see that the version for 2008, but what we want is the 2012 version, so let's click on that. Now compared to what we've just downloaded, it's not big at all. What we just downloaded was 1,900 megabytes. This is just 36 kilobytes. So I'll just wait for that to download. Right, it's just coming to the end. There we go. So let's open it up and extract it. And there we go. So we have a .mdf and a .lgf, also known as a primary data file and a transaction log file. So now we need to attach these to our version of SQL Server. So we don't do that using the SSDT, we do that using SSMS, which is the SQL Server Management Studio. So you can see it there. So let's open that up. Right, select the right server. So browse for more. So we've installed it as SSRS. And that's all you need to do. We go connect. And this is our database. Now have a look at the number of databases we've got in here. There are some special ones, and you can tell they're special because of the $sign relating to report server, but there are no user databases. So what we need to do is attach the one we just downloaded. So we right and click on databases, go to attach, click add, and navigate to where we have the database that we have just downloaded. So go to where it's contained. So I'll just go here and here, and there will be subfolders coming up. Or not, because it won't go into all of the subdirectories. As you can see, it won't go into a particular person's user files. So what we have to do instead is go and extract this into a folder that we can access. So I'm going to go to the A drive. I'm going to create a new folder called AdventureWorks, and I'm going to paste it in there. Both the primary file and the log file. So now if I click on add and go to this folder, so A AdventureWorks, we can see there we have the data file, and that's the only one it's going to see, the MDF. It's not going to look for the LDF. It's going to look for the primary data file. So I'll click on that, click OK, and you can see it's filling in everything OK. Click OK, and ooh, an error occurred. What's this error? Let's go across. Access denied. Well, if we go to Windows Explorer and right and click on this AdventureWorks folder and go down to properties, you'll see that the read-only is ish. It's not ticked, it's not empty, it's in the middle. That means so-so. So if we go across to security and users, you can see we don't have full control. So we need to put it into a folder in which we have full control. So we can edit this one in this case, go down to users and click allow and click OK and click OK. So now when we go into the locate data files, click OK and click OK. Do we get that error message? No, we don't. So go into a folder in which you have complete access and which isn't one of your user data folders. So your administrator might need to help you, but you saw how I was able to do that on mine. So now if I expand this databases, you'll see that we have AdventureWorks 2012, and within the tables we've got lots of tables, more than enough data than we want to deal with, which is great. So what we're going to do now is close SQL Server Management Studios because that's all we need. And let's go back into bids or SSDT. And we need to add that as a data source. So we've already installed it in Management Studios, but in the report designer we need to say we want to connect to that database. And we're going to do that as a shared data source. So we right and click on that and click add new data source. Now notice we have other things that we can add, but we actually want to create a new data source. So we click that and this dialog box comes up. So we're going to call this SSRS. What type is it? Well, you can see all the various sorts of types we've got. This is if you're going to connect to a cube, but let's stick to Microsoft SQL Server. So the connection string, and I haven't a clue what the connection string is, nor do I want to really. We'll click edit and build it up. So we'll click the edit button. So first of all, the server name. So use the drop down box. Oh, maybe you need to click refresh. Okay, so the server name, as it's a local server, is dot. So the database name, and we can't see a list of databases. Right, so what's meant to happen is that you see all of the servers, probably just the one in this box, and then you see all of the databases that you've got installed in here. And this just hasn't happened. So what to do instead is you go into, if this happens, if this doesn't happen, you don't have to worry about it. We go back into SQL Server Management Studios. You notice at the moment it's closed. So if I open it up, the first thing it asks me to do is to log on to a server. So what I'm going to do with that information is copy it into SQL Server Data Tools. It's so much easier. I can see why they came up with the word bids. SSDT just doesn't have the same sound. So here it is. There's the server name. So I'm going to copy that, close down SSMS, into here, paste that, and now it gives me all of the databases. Now the database I wish to connect is the AdventureWorks 2012. And once I click that, I can even test the connection. Now you notice I could have attached the data file direct. So that's another possibility if you want to. But it's more usual that you've got it loaded onto SSMS or another database provider and then want to do reports to it. So we test the connection. Test connection succeeded. Click OK. So there's our connection string. So what does data source mean? Data source means what is the server, initial catalog, that is what database within that server is it going to initially, and in this particular case initially it's the first database and it's going to be the last database. So we click OK and there we have our shared database source with a .rds at the end. Now all of this lot is going to be created in one folder, but eventually what we're going to do is publish this report. So we don't need to worry about the fact that there are separate files that are going to come up. We are eventually going to publish it or deploy it somewhere so that it can be run. So we are going to build this up bit by bit. So we've got a data source that all of our reports are going to use. But before we get to that stage, the next stage is to get a data set from the data source.